ZVP here. It is going to be in the bottom left-hand side from Twisted Minds, the red Zerg. Been doing very well lately, YoungYakov.
And over in the top right, as our blue Protoss, it is Gerald. Ooh, look at that, Wardy. Going to mine out a mineral patch over here in the middle of the map, and I mean, it's a very, very early probe. In fact, oh, that is juicy Lucy.
Yeah.
Do you think he's going to go for it?
Yeah, kind of. Unless he expects his opponent to go for it, and he's gonna block it. Oh my goodness. That's a play,
that
man.
is yeah, that's that feels like some 200 IQ blocking. Honestly, like whether that is what Zergs are doing all the time on this map, or and I feel that when you have a gold base, it's something that you absolutely have to respect and think about. Very nicely done by Gerald, because that does avoid, you looking like a potential genius, but then he doesn't go for it at all. And you're like, oh, what's my probe doing here? Because this is a very early probe send out from him. Yeah, it makes me think that he's done his homework. And right before this series, he was a little bit late to the lobby. And he was like, oh, sorry, I was watching a replay, which, that kind of studying can absolutely pay off.
Yeah, and obviously it's just nice as well, I guess, because at the end of the day, no matter what, you are going to at least deny the gold base, so you know that's going to happen. Double win if your opponent tries to take it. Even if he didn't try to, then you know he's not on the gold, as the probe did go down there to the drones. And then, of course, at least the Zerg's not working off a gold, which is oftentimes difficult to do much about, especially on this map, because you can't really rotate to and from the gold base. Like, you can't hit the gold and hit the other bases at the same time super easily with the depths or so, just with the way that the minerals are laid out and everything, so no, it definitely makes it a cool play from Gerald early. Unfortunate to lose that probe. We'll see what his follow-up's going to be. Gerald's quite a creative player when it comes to his PvZ. He's one of the few players that will still Archon drop in DT Rush, for example, so let's see what his plan is here. Is his tech going to go down in the main? This time around, it is a plain old Stargate.
Yeah, this is far more standard what we see from Protosses these days, right? Getting that on the go. Now, YoungYakov, he was denied once, but not denied again. We'll go for that gold base. And honestly, it's far enough away from your opponent, while it is still a bit more risky than a regular third base, that I think, yeah, it's kind of worth going for here. And if you take out those rocks on that gold, you open up the map quite a lot for yourself. And Gerald, he's a smart boy, man. I've never felt that Gerald is one of these, like, mechanically all over the shop Protosses. He's definitely more thought out with his approaches and goes from more like an army comp style of Protoss play. Like, not in your face with the Blink Stalkers right from the get-go kind of thing. So we'll get his scouting information going on here. YoungYakov, definitely on the younger side of things, but still, he's been showcasing that he's a pretty darn decent Zerg these days.
Yeah, he's really taken some steps up. He's been looking really in WTL, those qualifiers with WTL. In that, he actually looked really good. He got competitive with some of the Koreans as well. And he's just been, like I say, like, to me, just quite impressive lately. Cool player. He's been doing well for himself. You can see right now there's a depth shade now towards the center of the map, and then beyond, it's just going to get back home. Yeah, for me, this is a cool matchup, because I feel like in years gone by, I would have always played Gerald, but I almost want to favor YoungYakov now. I know Gerald's got some more real-life stuff going on, but he's also still been playing a lot, so it just makes for a really good matchup here. With them both being 1-1, and here in this opening match of Europe, I actually love it.
Yeah, me too. Because YoungYakov, his first match at the group stage, it was 1-2 to Wayne, which you look at that, you're like, oh, taking a map off Wayne? Like, I've seen him take a map off Serral very recently. Granted, it was Honrad who set, I think it was in WTL. With some cheeky Nida stuff. But then going 2-0 for Jumi, it's like, oh, okay, I don't know where to put this guy right now. Like, beating for Jumi 2-0, losing to Wayne 1-2. Where's that middle ground? Right now, though, these Oracles dealing quite a bit of damage over at this gold base, and 5 drones falling so far, but maybe for 2 Oracles, that is a lot.
Yeah, 6 drones, 2 Oracles to go down. It's just so necessary, because he had 5 drones with 1 Oracle loss. He didn't need to lose a second, right? And then even then, he didn't need to lose the first. He probably could have had 4 drones killed. And to me, that's the thing, right? It's like, he essentially lost the 2 Oracles for the 2 extra drones, and that just is not worth it at all. So now you actually have just the Voider on the map, and look at this, Baneling Nest on the way up from YoungYakov, and I wonder if he just feels like, hey, look, this was great for me. Maybe I just make a lot of units. You won't see what's going on easily, and maybe I can get a lot done. That said, he's also still taking further damage off these Adepts.
He certainly is. And behind all this as well, Gerald's actually opting for a third base, and it's pretty early. 2 Twilight Councils. I dare say that wasn't quite the plan, but, you know, sometimes you can get a little ahead of yourself. I say that just because I have no idea whether he's planning double upgrades at the same time. It was done a long time ago, but this Void Ray also putting in work across the map here. I mean, so much value. YoungYakov's getting kind of tore apart here.
Yeah, you know what? I actually really believed in the Baneling Nest and the potential Baneling bust, but not with how much damage he's continued to take. I mean, he's going to morph in 4 Banelings, but he'll just have no follow-up to this. As he has got a couple of Queens coming across the map. There's a lot more Links starting up in production now. I just don't see it being enough. Like, at first I thought maybe if he had the gold-based economy continued in mind, he would have had a lot more Links coming out. But then he's been supply blocked and all sorts, and now it just does not feel like the power is really going to be there. Gerald is prepping with more gateways, more batteries. He really gets himself nicely set up. And it does look as though, honestly, I think that Gerald is going to have himself a game one kind of in the bag. Still has to get a defense here, but it just doesn't look scary, right? These 4 Banelings look so unthreatening.
It doesn't look scary at all, actually. And I mean, this positioning by Gerald here, just defending the pylon and the shield battery itself. And I mean, here just kind of trying to get in buildings here. I mean, this is really rough, man. These queens, they were just the saddest queens of all time. The Baneling don't even get the pylon, Wardy.
This wasn't enough Banelings, and like I said, I think that's really just the extra damage taken. You know, Adepts jumping on that gold base, drones having to pull away during it, the Void Ray getting overlords. I think this all really just added up to never enough power for YoungYakov, and yeah, this promising young Zerg player is not quite clicking here today against Gerald.
Not yet, anyway. It's game one. It's game one. And he's, I want to say still in this, but that probe count looks really damn good compared to the 42 drones. And I mean, he's getting +1 melee on the way. That's quite a nice connection there on that stasis. Only a couple of Zerglings, and this is very nice positioning out of Gerald. When is shield battery overcharge available? It's not for a little bit of time here. And I mean, these Stalkers, they will sort of do the job nicely tucked in here for Gerald, but 16 drones. YoungYakov is absolutely catching up in the eco department as well.
He is catching up in the eco department, but his lair isn't even done, so no tech. Just pure Ling Bane, no Bane speed just yet. Roach is not ready yet because the Roach run's on the way. I think that's the issue. And okay, Gerald's only just now starting up his +1 in Blink, but once he hits that, he's going to have a very powerful time when I still think we're going to be missing things on the side of the Zerg. So I think those are the kind of the correlations to draw here, that, you know, YoungYakov was aggressive early. The price he has to pay is that he will not be teched up properly for a good long while.
No, he won't. But it's not every day that you see +1 being finished for Zerg before the +1 of Protoss. And actually, Wardy, I kind of joked about those Twilight Councils, but he is getting Charge and Blink at the same time. And I don't know if that's just kind of making good out of a bad situation, or it was planned all along.
Yeah. There's no way, man. You can't tell me this was the plan. I think this is a case of, like, he misbuilt them, but then he also didn't start his upgrades for a long time because he was defending. So now he's like, well, if they got delayed, I may as well get them both. But I think, yeah, just making the fact that he had both, I'd be surprised if this was intentional.
I'm still not a non-believer here. Like, Gerald's army just spiked up. Like, I've seen Zerg work wonders. He's on a gold base. He's taken his 5th base now as well behind all this. Granted, tech sucks, but having this kind of army out on the map and stuff, and I mean, he's making Gerald scared, isn't he? Like, Gerald doesn't exactly know what he's up against now.
Yeah, those Stalkers having a recall.
DTs.
Yeah, that's going to be nice.
That's going to be Archons.
And there's Zealots on the left side as well, by the way, which can just kind of wander around as well. But they're going to get caught, and yeah, maybe Gerald. I mean, I think what Gerald's issue is that he's not really doing everything all at once. He's really doing it like bit by bit, and in my eyes, I think that is actually quite kind of a problem, right? Like, these 6 Zealots went on their own, then the Stalkers were on their own. DTs are going to show up, though, and they are going to get straight into the Spore Crawler, and they are not going to get denied before then. And that means the DTs can keep on going, so damage will be dealt, and this might lead to the Stalker attack as Lings try and get on the other side.
I liked that manual detonation of a Baneling there. Did actually get to kill one of the DTs just by doing it himself, so that was cool. But the DTs, that 5th base over in the south here, DTs in the kind of natural
Fifth.
third, but actual fourth
Yeah.
base. And
Yeah.
now, fairly similar army supplies.
No, it's kind of been wild. I mean, I like what YoungYakov's doing. He's definitely been trying to look for opportunities whenever he can, but generally speaking, still like a lot for Gerald too. He's going to be in the middle now. Can he actually do much, though? He's starting to get a little bit overwhelmed. And I guess it is that fact of, like, this is still a very just low-tech army for the Zergs. He just has a lot of stuff. So maybe Gerald would do good to, yeah, get Storm up and actually add some just splash damage. And once he gets to that, then we obviously look at this Zerg army and we're like, well, yeah, maybe this is just going to get ripped apart a little bit.
Yeah, because I mean, we've seen Zerg stick on Roachling Bane, Ravager, for like a long time, right? Like, it's pretty good against everything. But you're against a Gerald with really, really good eco here. It's 85 probes versus 71 drones. The big thing for YoungYakov is the fact that the upgrades are pretty decent. He's going to hit +2. Oh, I mean, Gerald blinked in very aggressively here. Storm's not done either. This could maybe bite him in the butt a little bit.
Yeah, as we now see that first side temple in the front going down, the Archon will fall as well. Roach Ravager will continue to chase in. Stalkers have to blink backward. The Zelds continue through. Link's taking shots. I'm just going to see Gerald kind of not, again, having splash damage just yet. So this is probably one of YoungYakov's better timings. Now as Storm is done, if we start to get those high Templar out, this could be big. And Oracle is still killing a pace on the bottom side of the map as Gerald blinks forward to take out an Overseer. And things will settle now once again with Gerald warping in those 5 high Templar and getting towards that Storm and that splash, which we think he ever so much needs.
What's kind of hurting YoungYakov at this point is he only has 2 queens alive. Like, he's been absolutely battling with these queens constantly. Morphin in 26 Banes, 26 new Zerglings as well. The upgrades, he's on +2, so that's definitely decent for him. But this game's getting scrappy and crazy. Like, Gerald's going to be fighting in places that I don't think he thought he would be for quite some time, but I like the warp into the DTs here defensively.
Yep, there's going to be seeing a Baneling crashes for some probes, but doesn't one-shot anymore, so not too bad. 8 workers going down. Stalker's still trying to fight in the center. YoungYakov still trying to push through. It was very chaotic, right? And it's that chaos that really is perhaps finding the most success here for YoungYakov, and it's maybe the reason why Gerald is not quite as comfortable as... I kind of feel like he should have been very comfortable, right? And it's definitely not been the case at all.
It's not been the case at all. I mean, power of the gold base, isn't it? Like, even on a lower drone count stuff, it definitely changes how things flow a lot. But that is a hell of a lot of high Templars on the right side of the screen. They absolutely will cause quite a bit of trouble if he can keep them alive. And right now, YoungYakov's a little all over the place with his fighting here. But I tell you what, that is it's a lot of Zerg.
It's a lot of Zerg, but then this is a horrible choke point. But then if Gerald can't get back through it himself, YoungYakov can launch onto these bases. We blink to protect the natural from those Banelings, which is a nice move. You can see that Gerald's trying to rotate back around. One of the interesting portions of this map is how do you get back to your bases from that gold? You can go through the rocks, or you can still come back around the other way. So again, we talked about this map and why we like it earlier. And that is kind of one of those reasons as our Stalkers continue up. Blinking on after those Ravagers, and if you chase and properly kill off all these Ravagers, this is real bad for YoungYakov because they are very expensive. I just don't think he has the numbers to stop Gerald from doing that chase right now.
I think he's running out of steam. Like Gerald, he took a little bit of eco damage, but he's producing 5 probes at a time here, Wardy. I mean, that number will absolutely flash on right back up, and his upgrades are decent. He's on 2-0. He can warp in a lot of units, and now what does YoungYakov do? I mean, he's a lad that's... He's really given it his all this game, and Gerald's just weathered the storm and sent the storm, quite literally.
Yes, he has. GG is going to be called, and that is going to do it in the end. It just took Gerald to really kind of stabilize, right? YoungYakov played a fairly low-tech army, and so just kind of playing Zeld Stalker against it for a while wasn't going to cut it. As soon as he got Storm up and he properly got to land a few Storms, I think that's where you kind of saw what Gerald's strength was meant to be, and he does take that 1-0 lead. I mean, again, impressive it went so long because it felt as though YoungYakov completely botched it early. Set up for the Baneling burst, never got anything out of the Baneling burst at all. And, yeah, it felt as though Gerald was going to always win. But yeah, like I said, at least YoungYakov stayed in and fought, and if he does that from a more even position to begin with, he's going to be terrifying to play against, man. You can see the power, you can see his activity around the map. These are not easy things to handle.
No, it's not that game that spells disaster for the rest of the series, is it? It's one of those games that's like, alrighty, YoungYakov, quite a few things were unfortunate. Even as far as like him mining out those minerals, getting through there, and it's like, Oh, there's probe here already. That's kind of unusual, but and then suffering a lot of losses. The counterattack, as you said, with the Banelings and the Queens just getting caught out massively. But he still kind of turned it into a game, and it wasn't as easy as it kind of should have been. So I do have faith in YoungYakov going into this series, because if that much went wrong and he still put up a fight, I want to see when everything goes right for him, because then we might be absolutely talking. So the second map between these two will be Golden Aura. Definitely can be a little bit wild. We got to see Mia Micah being held off very easily by Nice earlier, but we'll see what YoungYakov can do.
Yeah, no, I think this map is actually very interesting because attacking into your opponent on this map can be very difficult. They have pretty much all their bases on high ground. It's very choky to attack in on, which can obviously benefit both sides of this, depending on who does what exactly. And, yeah, obviously, it really is about, from YoungYakov, tightening up the early game. Don't let Adepts get a bunch of damage. Don't let the Oracles dominate. Obviously, in this case, he did kill off the Oracles early. It's just the follow-up did a lot to him, and then he chose to kind of Bane Burst, but then took even further damage. That's where it really all went wrong, as we will get into this in just a moment. Gerald is BRB. Christiana Petit Drogo is happening on the B stream as well, so if you want to check that out, is also going on if you want to multi-stream. Some StarCraft today, some PvP happening on that B stream. Christiana and Drogo currently both 1-1, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, really? That's kind of cool, actually. I mean, Drogo's the guy that quote-unquote retired, but I still see him just as much almost.
Yeah.
He turned up at events looking cool, had new hair, and it was like, hey, guys, how's it going? It's like, hey, Drogo.
Yep. No, Drogo's kind of like, he didn't play in that much anyway, right? Like, he only really played the biggest stuff. He wasn't like a big online cup grinder, so... Yeah, then he still plays in the regionals, like, oh, it's Drogo again, and it's like, he's still pretty darn good. Like, I never know what to expect, but then he almost still brings the same level, which is very cool to see, as Golden Aura is going to be this map, as we mentioned, and we are now heading into it. So, YoungYakov, Gerald, game number 2, and we are going to be starting off in the top left-hand corner, which is where the red Zerg player spawns in, representing Twisted Minds, but down a game, unfortunately, seeing if he can bounce it back. This is YoungYakov.
And exploring bottom right-hand side, currently 1-0 up, it is Gerald.
It is almost surprisingly normal from Protoss player last game, and I only say that because he does like to, like I say, maybe go Twilight Council, Dark Shrine, and these are things which not everyone does. A lot of people are quite vocal, like, yeah, the Archon drop builds suck. This man uses it in pretty much every single series he plays still in PvZ. I'd be surprised if we didn't see it game 2, unless he has really had a bad experience against YoungYakov with it on the ladder, for example. So, we'll see. But generally does kind of just find something that works for him, and then sticks to what works for him, even if other players don't necessarily agree with it. It's definitely a stance he likes to take. He's very individual about his play.
Yeah, and like methodical almost, right? Like gets his thing rolling. Like even this game, the fact that he was so aggressive with his initial probe to get it on the map and get the denial of, you know, the hatch block kind of thing. I liked that from him. And then this game, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to do that this game. I'm just going to be cool, be calm. I'm actually going to scout my third just to make sure there's nothing crazy going on this game that I'm up against. And then scout like decently late. So yeah, he's switching it up a little bit as well. And that's always a player that when I go up against them and they have even just down to a different scout pattern or a different tech choice and stuff, I'm like, wow, this guy can actually do it all. And that's the kind of player that you don't want to be up against, you know?
Yep. No, absolutely is our next Cybercore comes up. Being able to do it all is terrifying, right? Like, the versatility in StarCraft 2 goes such a long way. Like, if you can just do different things, then your opponent never gets to be comfortable. They never get to be like, okay, you did that game 1. If you're going to do game 2, I'll just kind of, you know, tweak this or tweak that. Doing different things, it never lets your opponent settle down. So it's always amazing to be able to crank out all different things. And this right now is just an Adept Chrono boosting, no Warp Gate starting. It's a mind game though. No Warp Gate usually means the Star Gate. It's exactly what he did. He didn't even fake Warp Gate last game. Usually you see Warp Gate start, they cancel it, build a Stargate. Didn't even fake it last game. This time he goes Twilight Council, then Warp Gate at a timing that would come with the Stargate going down. So, like I say, cool little mind game being built here. And it means that Gerald is going to try and catch his opponent a little bit off guard, trying to get him to feel safer than he actually is.
Yeah, smart that you pointed that out, Wardy, because that's a big deal, right? Like, YoungYakov knows what that means with the delayed warp gate, and Gerald obviously knows what that means. So right now, when it comes to that production tab, you'll probably see YoungYakov be like, all right, I need to get some spore crawlers down at X time. Sometimes it can be like 340, 345 or what have you, but right now, from what we're saying from Gerald, it's nothing about that at all. So we'll see how that comes into play this game.
Yeah, Overlord still kind of poking to the front, just trying to pick up info. Now the Stalker pops out and we'll start to launch some attacks onto the Overlord, so that's not really too uncommon, especially if you're just going to go on Oracle or something, right? Because you want the Stalker to push the Overlord back anyways. The Oracle wouldn't necessarily do that. And there's the Dark Shrine coming up here from Gerald. The only thing that I don't love about this is that if you make him think it's a Stargate, and then he's going to build, spores against it anyways, and then you go Dark Shrine, you're kind of like inviting him into the answer anyway, but right now there's not spores going down from YoungYakov, so maybe Gerald will be okay.
It's like, if can you imagine if this turns into the good old-fashioned, like, Archon drop, which, that's also something, the DTs come, you find yourself not necessarily dealing damage, but then you just kind of go into Archons and it's totally fine.
Yeah.
Nice little positioning by Gerald, by the way.
I mean, that's what Gerald plays for so much, the Archon drop that everyone, like I say, everyone else doesn't really like. They're like, this shouldn't work, and everyone's like, no, yeah, Gerald's like, no, it's good, and they're like, no, it's not, because this and this. I think the argument is, like, how many times have we seen a third base be picked off by a Protoss in the DTs initially, and then the Zerg still wins the game? It's because that's how little this Archon drop does for you after, but like I say, Gerald's a real believer in it. The spores are beginning to come up third base now, one on the natural. We'll see where the DTs head, because the Prism's coming across the map. Obviously not super tight timing. The DT Shrine has been done for a while, and yet the Prism is not across the map and warping in just now, so yeah, not in any real rush, I guess, Gerald. He's very casual about this so far.
He's super casual. There is already one spore up. Where was that? So he's got one in the third, one making in the natural, one moving to the main. I mean, that main spore crawler has a job to do, and the DTs do reveal themselves rather early, and honestly, that spore crawler, very nicely timed by YoungYakov. We gave Gerald a lot of respect for maybe studying his opponent in the first game with the scout and the block and stuff, but so far, this kind of trickery and shenanigans and stuff, YoungYakov wasn't too early on the spores. In fact, he was perfect about the spores.
Yeah, that's the first Archon morphed in as well here from Gerald. We'll get a second DT to morph the second, you'd imagine, as well. Things across the map, shouldn't find much. There's plenty of adepts here. Okay, that pylon's a bit off to the side, but that's a quick cancel, not the most needed of things immediately from Gerald. He should be fine. And yeah, we got the double Archon ready to try and deal some more damage up into the main base of our Zerg players. Let's see if this works out for him or not over these next couple moments.
Absolutely will. And, this hatchery might be forfeit at this point, but it is a fourth base, so not the most important thing in the world. And this Overlord will be saved by YoungYakov thus far. Saved again. And I mean, the Warp Prism's getting into dangerous territory here, Wardy. This could be... those shots, they have to get on out of here.
Yeah, that was just bad, man. I feel like he was like, yeah, it's fine. It's like, it's far enough off creep, but the Queens were actually very comfortably able to grab that, so that was a...
Yeah, he didn't make that close.
Yeah. No, that was bad. That was just a mistake. Archon's recall out, and YoungYakov is slightly supply blocked, but yeah, I mean, getting rid of the Prism removes so much of the pressure from Gerald, and if you rebuild that Prism, it's going to eat into your tech choice now, which is Disruptors, so you can't build as many Disruptors if you replace the Prism, so it's kind of like, well, what do you do? Well, in this case, you're going to keep building Disruptors, but that means no pressure on the map.
No, absolutely, absolutely. Let's have a look, see where things are. Spire on the way for YoungYakov. We saw Mutas really deal with a lot of Protosses the other day, with Bly utilizing them to... well, they worked,
yeah.
I suppose you can say. But Roach speed on the way, +1 missile attack as well. YoungYakov has a decent-ish drone count, and he is producing a lot of units. And I mean, it is Gerald moving out across the map. He has to be a little bit careful, though, because I mean, the first wave of aggression that he did with the Warp Prism didn't go all that well, and as soon as that Roach speed finishes, that army can really wrap around you if you are fighting on creep against it.
Yep, our Roach speed is going to be coming up. I'm just going to be seeing how Roaches continue to produce through. +1 missiles coming out. But yeah, we're really watching that Spire and how much we're going to be able to afford from the Spire. Right now, not a lot, because we're going so Roach heavy. And YoungYakov is going to send some Roaches across the map, maybe looking to test his luck. over on this side. Gerald has moved out as well, so this could get very awkward very quickly. The Prism is seen moving onto the map. YoungYakov, what are we going to do? He's obviously seen the rest of the army now as well. He is going to send it forward, but there's DTs here defensively and no Overseer. So YoungYakov will not succeed on the offense, and now he's got to get defensive with his majority of units coming back home still.
It's not easy fighting into disruptors. I mean, he's got a lot of roaches, right? But he has to kind of go through this little nook here, and those sentries with the force fields nicely placed will get a fourth for his troubles. And Gerald's just going to quite handily move on back behind this. But there still is that kind of ace up the sleeve here with the mutas. Like, those are a unit that can absolutely come into play, wreak havoc, and deal a lot of damage. And also, maybe most importantly, shut down this warp prism.
Yep, no, absolutely. As the Prism actually moves into the main base, going to fire first disruptor shot in. Boom! For 4 and 5 drones plus the Queen. It's actually a real nice little just chunk of damage there. As yeah, that's a great catch. Obviously, YoungYakov having to replace a 4th base. I loved what Gerald was able to do. Took good position, used the disruptors to his advantage to zone his opponent out, gets that kill easily, and now he even gets damage on top of it. Now the mutas are here though, so the warp prism will get chased. Can we save this? Can we save the disruptors? Well, losing an Archon isn't exactly great. When the mutas are on the way across, we do lose one disruptor, the other gets out, and that's another nice catch, initially at least, from our Zergi.
I tell you what, that payoff there, getting the Warp Prism, Disruptor, and an Archon for its first reveal, not bad at all. Not bad at all. Gerald definitely caught off guard a little bit there by the mutas. Now, he does have a superior economy right now, but YoungYakov is very close to being maxed out. And now this is when it's a bit tricky. Gerald totally out of position for this attack, by the way. He had no idea.
Yeah, I didn't know what he was doing, like, on the right side. He hadn't seen the mutas or anything initially, so kind of weird. Although, I tell you what, those gates are kind of holding position, and if he can just get down the ramp, then he might be able to attack up and keep his opponent pinned back. No Overseers against the DTs are going to do a lot of the defending, and now you're realizing as YoungYakov, like, uh-oh, hang on a second, I'm actually in a bit of a weird spot now. The only good thing is that Gerald sent everything over here, so the mutas have some time to work through a cannon, which they will finally get. The battery runs out of energy. I gotta say, I think that's actually very good for Gerald. He never really took damage here, and he got so much value out of all these units he killed.
Those DTs absolutely have been awesome for him. And on the other side of things, he's continuously been annoying. I think he cancelled that 4th base again with just a few units here. And luckily for YoungYakov, he has stabilized that other 4th base. But these DTs, Wardy, it's the DTs again. Like, they have been working wonders. How many kills does this bad boy have? Just 4, but with it being... Oh my goodness, he actually blocked his hatchery position with a creep tumor. Does quickly stabilize there, but... Oh, the muta count is growing though, and remember, because he didn't go for a Stargate opening this game, it's not something like he can quickly, readily get out Phoenix, right?
Yeah. No, that's very true. It's one of the biggest strengths of mutas, right, when you play against a Twilight-based opener, because it does just take away one of the options that oftentimes does deal with your mutalist. So, no, very good point. It's a very true one. As you see these units here, just going to push this back. I'm just a bit afraid that YoungYakov is not necessarily causing enough chaos for himself, and if he doesn't cause enough chaos, this army of Gerald just gets stronger and stronger, and then YoungYakov can't really take like a straight-up fight. So we'll see how that develops over the next few minutes. It looks as though Gerald right now is about to go forward once again and start pushing across the other side.
Yeah, definitely. And these mutas, they're great at doing all the base stuff, but the last place you want to be utilizing them, except if you're against Warp Prism, is at your base, because... Oh, that was a juicy disruptor. That lad died, but he went down fighting, and right now Gerald is holding the line. He's actually got a superior army count as well for maybe the first time in this game, and his army, it feels like YoungYakov's having real trouble of really penetrating and dealing good damage here.
Yeah, no, I honestly just basically take everything you see from YoungYakov. None of these units are actually designed to fight against this army of Gerald. Put it that way, right? Like, none of this is necessarily good in that scenario, and that's the issue that you're facing here. As these Stalkers come blinking forward, they're going to go after that Overseer. I mean, this is all about counterattacking, causing trouble, forcing Gerald to split up, and jumping on portions of that army. He's not done that yet. And even right now, we're going to see Gerald, I mean, recalling home, honestly, I feel like a good amount considering the Stalkers he already had there. Now the mutas are going to go up and right, but there's units converging from that direction too, so... Oh my goodness.
Biled his own mutas there. That was actually a bit brutal, so quite a lot of them taking quite a bit of damage. Might help Gerald out quite a bit, and flying across the Archons. We'll get to pick them off, though, on the escape, but YoungYakov was definitely looking for more amidst all this chaos. 4 probes only.
Yeah.
That is well done by Gerald, and it's not going to get easier for YoungYakov. Like, he's getting some really good army, and look, and look at that as well. He's got 2 Stargates up with a fleet beacon on the way. Like, Gerald's respecting the mutas as well.
Yeah, he doesn't even need to, though, man. There's 16 Lings and 5 Twins on the map. That's the ground force. And if you just push with everything as Gerald, the mutas can't fight, right? So that's the issue. We do have a probe Ling counter-attack, and that might take Gerald's attention, but boy, does it need to, because, like I say, there's nothing to actually stop this army. The mutas can't fight this head-on, but if the mutas can't do that, then there's nothing else to stop them. This army will just push forward. The mutas are going to come in. This is generally the sign of a final fight here. Let's just see too much from Gerald. He is going to push those mutas back initially, and I mean, he can start working through bases. He's been a little bit like, I'll go here, I'll go there. Maybe even just not believing how good a situation he's got right now.
Yeah, it's incredible, man. 70 supply lead. He's got a really big army here. He's between the rally point as well, between all the bases, and now he's even producing the Phoenix back at home. Granted, this muta count is scary, but yeah, I mean, YoungYakov has a lot of work to do, and even the DTs, man. The DTs have been so good this game for Gerald.
Yeah, that Dark Shrine initially didn't do much, and then the Prism went down with the Archons. Not inside, but it stopped the Archons from continuing to harass, right? But then the DTs have been great anyways, as Gerald is really, like, I think Gerald is really terrified that his opponent's about to show up with, like, a really good ground army. If Gerald saw what we saw, there would be no reason to have brought all this back. Like, yes, you don't really want to base trade the mutas. Mutas are scary to base trade against. And I suppose he's still doing good enough damage on the other side, but he could have wiped out everything of YoungYakov already. Instead, he pulls back. He's going to kind of play it out a little bit. He's going to guarantee himself a few more Phoenix just so he can really ensure that this mutalist count is not going to be a forever problem for him.
And it really won't be. Like, Phoenix, that count will climb. They can kind of outrun the muta. They can chase them down. They can do everything, especially with that, well, when that Anion Pulse Crystals comes online, that's when it really gets scary for these mutas. So they're on a bit of a clock here, and with the economy being so bad for YoungYakov, 43 drones to 65 probes, he absolutely has to get something done, and he knows it. He's going for the Banelings on the right and going to try and deal damage on the bottom. These Phoenix are very out of position here, though, Wardy.
Yeah, they are. As the mutas dive in, a couple of Morphin Archons will take damage. 1 Phoenix, 2 Phoenix that just spawned. Fly in and will not have the greatest of times, but again, we are chipping through that mutalist count. YoungYakov doesn't have too much of an eco, and that is finally going to be the GG.